Hello, and today we're going to be talking about how to get creative with Okiolabs. And what we're going to do is we're going to use paper slides. And you might be thinking, well, what is paper slides? So I want you to think about Google Slides presentations, but students are going to use actual paper. So what your students will do is they're actually going to get out those markers, those colored pencils, and they're going to design what they normally would on Google Slides using paper. And it's a really fun activity, and it's very, again, low tech because your students will, again, design using paper, and it's so engaging because they love to color. They love to go on here and design their slides, again, using this paper. You're also going to want markers, colored pencils, anything like that. And then you will want to make sure that you've got this Okio camera. So it's like a document camera, and this is perfect for paper slides. So if you don't have one, you can go over to their website and it will take you to Amazon where you can purchase one. So once you have your document cam, your paper, your markers, your crowns all ready to go, we're going to first kind of talk about, well, what is this? So again, all you need is paper. And what your students are going to do is they're going to design a Google type slide, but on paper. They're going to explain step by step by step how to solve different problems. And this works great for math because there are multi-step different equations that your students have to do. And so they first design, and then after they design, they then go through the steps using that Okio camera. And they walk through and they talk through, and then you're able to see what they know. So it's a great 4Cs type of activities because your students are collaborating, they're communicating, they're using their critical thinking to design what steps need to go in what order, and they're working as a group. So it's such a great activity, and I can't wait to kind of go over some ideas with you. And then we're actually going to create one together. So ways that you as a teacher might use this. If you teach math, this is great for solving word problems or any type of math problem. Again, you're taking the steps and you're putting them into different papers that your students will explain. If you're doing writing, your students can create this story and they can add images and different things that they might want to do while they're doing different writings as that. For reading, your students could use closed reading skills. And so they could have a passage that's printed off. And as they're reading it, they're doing those closed reading skills. So they might be able to say, oh, right here, that's an aha moment. Oh, over here, this is where I connected with the story because this one time, and they're able to, again, practice that thinking out loud, which some of our students need that practice to make it concrete in their learning. Another idea is like science. Students could explain a concept. So the rock cycle, the water cycle, they're able to explain how those different things go about. Another way is social studies. Students could demonstrate the different types of government or different cultures that were around, and they can kind of show the difference in there. Another one with kind of that reading is the basic reading, and students could sort categories of different words as well. So many different ideas. And if you have ideas as well, let us know. We are better together, and so we need that personal our PLN to kind of help us with that. So let's just grow together. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to plan. And so with planning, what that looks like is you have a piece of paper, and you can feel free to grab this plan if you want to use mine. But this is where you do your brainstorming. So students are going to brainstorm. They can also just use a blank sheet of paper to brainstorm. And so your students will just kind of decide, what do I want on paper number one? Is there any text I need? What images am I thinking? And they're just going to sketch it out. It's just a brain dump of what they're thinking and what they want to do with this activity. And again, your students are working in groups. So you could kind of do different activities with them to kind of get that going, that brainstorm going. One strategy I really love is kind of like a think, pair, share. So students write out page, like they brainstorm this individually, and then they come together as a group and they decide like what's the best way to do it. And so they can take everybody's ideas to do that. And so I just love that idea. And again, what that kind of looks like is like you could use Post-it notes, or you could use just a piece of paper. And so again, like every student here, I don't know if you can kind of see my green. We're going to pull over the Okio camera in a minute, but student 1 would write their ideas here, student 2, student 3, student 4, and then they would come up with that best answer together. And I love that because as they're thinking individually and then they're coming back as a group to decide, okay, I really like that idea. If you don't have that much time, you could just have the students kind of brainstorm together as well. So that would work too. Okay, but first step is you want them to plan what they're thinking. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to switch my cameras so that way you can see my writing down on the board. There we go. And let me go ahead and move my camera over here. And the first thing again is that planning stage. So let me go ahead and turn on this light so you can see it just a tad bit better. And so with that planning, I'm going to tell my students that the topic is long division. Okay, so the topic is long division, and then they are going to work together to plan what they might need to do. So let's go ahead, and there's my nice little paper for you. And again, this is such a great tool to have in the classroom. So it is the Okio Cam. Okay, so now that I've got my paper all set up, I'm going to go ahead and write plan because I am just going to use this blank planning sheet. Paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, and you can have as many paper slides as you might want or your students might need. Paper 4. Okay, so you can kind of see it's just a quick rough draft of what you're trying to do. Okay, and again, it's long. And we're going to do division. And these are like different topics that my students might struggle with, but they're able to really understand it once they do this paper slides activity. Okay, so on page number 1, I want them to first just set up the problem. So we have 479 divided by 7 equals. My students need to be able to take this and put it into the long division symbol. So that's going to be step 1, is just setting it up, talking about the vocabulary terms that they're going to need. So right here, the 7 is going to be the divisor. The 479 is the dividend. And again, I just want my students to get familiar with these vocabulary words and then be able to place them into the long division setup. Okay, so that is going to be the first step. Then on page number 2, this is where students might take a different step with this. I want my students to maybe, or this group, they decide that they want to remind people of the steps. So they're going to say like, remember, and then they're going to say divide, multiply, and then subtract, bring down. Okay, so they're just going to first remind people of the different steps of division because it is a lot of steps for a lot of different students. Okay, and then we've got paper number 3. So we're going to go over the steps. We did the vocabulary and setup. And my students are then going to walk through 7 divided by 479. Okay, and they're going to just kind of walk through and talk about why 7 can't go into 4. So we're first going to kind of explain this part right here, we'll say. And they're going to talk about how then they have to go to the 47. Okay, so that's going to be kind of the first spot. And then on page number 4, they're going to, it's like trying to think like how I want to kind of explain it. So maybe I'll say 6. 6 times 7 is 42. Subtract, and then they can go ahead and bring that down. So then it's 5, bring down the 9, and then we'll kind of stop there, and then we'll go to the next digit. And so then they can say 8, And 8 times 7 is 56. They subtract and they get that 3, and that's a remainder of 3. And we are talking about remainders, so I'm going to leave that and talk about the remainder. And then I want to add, I think, a paper number 5. And my students are going to add, they're going to talk about the quotient and what that means. And they're also going to talk about remainder. And then paper number 6, I want them to give like the final answer. So 479 divided by 7 is 68, remainder 3. Okay, so just to wrap it up. Okay, so I've got my plan done. Everything's kind of looking good for how we want that to look. And again, it's going to look kind of crazy in that stage, and that's totally okay. So then the next spot is to create. So that's where we're going to start to design our slides. And we're going to use our paper slides, and we are going to go over that first paper. And so right here, I've got my blank sheet, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to write out okay. And then my students are going to go ahead and write those vocabulary terms. And this is kind of, where they can get creative. Some of them use word art, where they like to do those bubble letters. Some of them might use different colors. And again, you just kind of let the kids get creative with this. Okay. And so one day, if you're trying to break this up, I might give my students maybe 20 minutes one day just to plan, another 20 minutes to design their slides, and then maybe 5 minutes to record using that Okiocam. So you can set this up however you might need to, but you can see right here, I've got my first slide done. I also like to either write like step 1, or on the back, I like to write slide 1, because then later when I need to put them in order, it's a lot faster. Okay, so we've got slide 1 done, and then we're going to say, remember, and this is where we're going to remind them of the steps. So first, you divide. And then my students multiply. Subtract. Bring down. Okay, so again, they're just going to go through these steps again and just say, okay, we have to do all these steps in order to solve that. This is slide number 2. And again, we're just writing that number 2 at the bottom, just in case they get mixed up, which they can. And then we're going to start to solve. Okay. Also, I forgot on this one, I wanted to add right here, the 7 goes there. Because a lot of times that's like where some students mess up. So that'll be just a really good reminder. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to copy that again. And I like to match the colors up that I had before. So there they are. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say divide was first. And so we can't divide 7 by 4. So we go to 47. And I'm going to go ahead and put that 6. 6 times 7. And then I'm going to change to orange is 42. And then they're going to subtract. And subtract was this like pink color. And then my students are going to bring down the 9. And then they're going to pause right there, and that's that next slide. And then they're going to rewrite it again. And this is where the students, you can kind of do like a jigsaw where they break up the task. So that way other students are able to kind of help with those different things. So I've got my 6. 6 times 7 is 42. Subtract, we get 5. Bring down, we get the 6. Oh wait, this is supposed to be a 9. Let me go ahead and rewrite that one. And I messed up those colors. I actually did want to rewrite one. Okay, now I can go ahead and kind of show those new steps to my students. So again, we're going to divide first. And then we're going to subtract. And there's no more to bring down. And again, we're working with remainders. So we're going to go ahead and do our 3. I think this was number 4. And then right here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to write out, we've got 68. And again, we're going to write quotient because we're working with those vocabulary words to get those students up to gear. And then we're going to do 3 is the remainder. And then on the last slide, we're going to just kind of wrap it up. And we're going to just say 479 divided by 7 equals 68, remainder 3. Okay, and that's the 6th one. Okay, so that is the students creating. Again, sometimes theirs looks a lot more beautiful than what we have. And then the next step is they put them in order. So again, that's why we kind of numbered them. So that way we could put these right into order. So that way it's quick and easy to find. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this extra paper because the next step is the students are going to publish. So with that next step, the students are going to publish their designs and they're going to showcase it to the rest of the class. So you want to kind of clear that space, and this is where that Okio camera comes into play. So before, the students are just creating, they're at another station, and then once they're ready to record, they can go to that Okio camera. You can do this live, or you can have the students record using that camera. So, okay, I'm going to go back. Actually, I'm going to share my screen real quick, and let's go ahead and open up the Okio cam. So right here, we can see it. And then again, the students, they'll hit that record button once they are all set to go, and they can begin to record their lesson. So I'm going to leave this up for you so that way you can watch it rather than bringing back my screen. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change my camera for you guys so that way you can see myself again. And I'm going to explain it. So the students will then explain it to the class. So that way everybody kind of understands how this works. So let me go ahead and get my camera all set up for you guys. Okay. And now the students explain. So right here, we've got division, and we've got the dividend right here and the divisor right here. This number goes in the inside where the 7 is going to go on the outside. Now we have to remember when we're dividing, we divide first, multiply, subtract, bring down. So as we're doing this, we need to make sure we're dividing, multiplying, subtracting, bring down. Remember all of those steps while we're doing that. Here is the first equation. So we've got 479 divided by 7. And so 7 cannot go into 4. 7 is bigger than 4, and so we've got to go over to that next number. So 47. How many times can 7 go into 47? 6. 6 times 7 is 42. Then we go back to this and we subtract. So 47 minus 42 is 5. The next step is to bring down. So then we bring down that 9. Now that we've solved the 47, we're going to bring down that 9. Now we have 59. How many times can 7 go into 59? 8. 8 times 7 is 56. 59 minus 56 is 3. And so we have a remainder of 3. So our quotient is 68, and our remainder is the number 3. That's how many is left over. Now here is our final answer. 479 divided by 7 equals 68, remainder 3. Once the students are done, they're going to go ahead and pause that, and they're going to hit the stop recording. There is our view of our recording, and then your students can save this image and you could publish it for parents to see, or students can add it to their digital portfolios. So just a great way to kind of show what they know. You can also see right here, let me go back to the camera so you can see, I crumpled this up. And so what I did there when I crumpled this up is I was creating different transitions, and students love those transitions in Google Slides. And so again, you can crumple them up. You can kind of shake it out. And so just adding that fun transition for them can make it really enjoyable for them to see. So just a really great quick activity that your students can do. And they can simply plug this Okiocam right into their computer to use. And also they're able to record very quickly. If you have any students that might need any steps, there is that feature. You can kind of see where my mouse is over here, and I'm able to zoom in and zoom out to show those processes as well. And again, what I love about PaperSlides is some students, like on this example, they might have, actually this one, they might have did 6 times 7 as one paper slide and then added another one for that 42. And that's what's so cool about PaperSlides is every single slide can look different, just like Google Slides. And again, it's so much easier for students to write out this type of math to explain their thinking than try to put this in a Google slide as well. And so it's just another way to mix things up as you're trying to use it. So again, you can use those different PaperSlides. And if you need your Okiocam, you're able to purchase it. Feel free to click this link in the slides. And it walks you through how to shop on Amazon to get that Okiocam. And this is the one that I have. So this one right here, you can shop on Amazon and you're able to grab this. It also has a whiteboard on there too, but we were working with PaperSlides. So I hope you enjoy this strategy, and I hope you're really able to use it in your classroom and that you've enjoyed this new idea of having students use the document camera to show their knowledge out loud while they're working. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope you try PaperSlides and let us know some other ideas. I know before we gave you a couple of teacher ideas, but if you have more, share them on Twitter. We would love to hear them and kind of tweet along with you. So share those ideas, share how your students are using PaperSlides in the classroom. Thank you so much for joining today.